Hey guys, very beautiful skyscape out there. We've got what looks like a subtropical jet coming in, and some cirrus moving through here about 60-70 knots from the west. So that's a nice change from yesterday when all we had was clear skies. And one way we can look at the clouds is with the WMO Cloud Atlas. If you go to Google and put in WMO publication 407, again that's 407, that'll take you to the International Cloud Atlas right here. And it's got a lot of good information on cloud types, and what we have tonight is probably a high cloud 2 or 4, and we can tell that by the number right here, CH1. That's going to be cirrus, thin cirrus. But what we have here, this is more of a thicker. I better check and make sure. Okay, didn't want the mic to be off. Yeah, we've got a thicker kind of high cloud, so that's going to be probably a high cloud 2. Yeah, something like that right there. And it talks about the different species and so on. All right, let's head into the weather picture. This is the thickness and isobars. Got quite a system up there in the Maritimes of Canada, way up here. So drawing out the fronts, we've got something like that right there. Cold front very far offshore, and likely a warm front kind of like that. Then a little further to the north, there's our occluded front all the way up into the St. Lawrence Gulf there. Lots of cold air advection coming in behind through Maine, New Hampshire, a very blustery day there. And then if you go further back, we've got an Alberta clipper coming through Chicago, with a cold front extending westward into around Columbia, Kansas City, and up to Omaha. And probably a warm front like that right there through the Indianapolis area down to Lexington. So out ahead of that, we've got westerly downslope flow. Although this is actually kind of a plains area. It's pretty flat there, so probably not a whole lot of downslope, but that would be affecting some of the warmer air from further west. And then up over Iowa, of course, cold air advection coming back in behind the system with the winds more veered and coming out of the north. Still got that plateau high over Washington and Idaho, keeping things pretty cold. And let's check out the weather picture, looking at the surface map. And this has the actual plots. The red here, the red dashed lines, these are going to be 500 millibar heights. So it's kind of got a little bit of a relationship to the thickness, but it's not quite the same thing. However, we can use it to find the jet stream, where the red is packed very close together, such as in this area right here. That tells us that there's a jet stream moving right through that area. So this is a jet max moving over Illinois and Iowa. And that's linked pretty closely to the presence of the surface system. And let me see if I can draw that front here. Looks like it's going to go something like that. So we go from temperatures of about 48 there at Memphis up to 52 right here. So obviously we've gone a little bit warmer as we go north towards Cape Girardeau. And then it falls off. So I think that frontal placement does look pretty good. Then we get up to Quincy and Rockford. And that area, temperatures down in the 20s. Pretty cold air coming in that backside. Then over Iowa and Indiana, I think we've got a frontal placement kind of like that right there. I need to get my tablet working. I could probably draw this a little bit neater. Okay, so we go from Memphis, 50 to 52, down to 48, and then down to about 46, and then down over Columbus about 30. Very strong temperature difference there. So I think that's kind of validates the position of that front right there. Okay, elsewhere in the country, pretty quiet down in the south. Got a weak southwesterly flow along the Gulf Coast. Looks like something going on there in Texas. Very weak low. And we can see the flow looking like that right there. Kind of a disorganized convergence into that low center. And that's located around the Jacksboro area. So maybe we can go with a weak front right there. Kind of a mesoscale front. North of that we got temperatures in the 40s. And south of that temperatures in the 50s. Then further west over the Great Basin area and the west coast, we've got that 1038 millibar high there. There it is, located around Omak. And temperatures in the valleys, they're still below freezing. Temperatures about 25 around Burns and Ontario and Boise. And then down in Nevada, still looks like the colder air localized pretty far to the north. There's Tonopah there with 52 and Vegas with about 64. So things are a little bit on the warm side in the southwestern U.S. Another way we can look at the fronts is with potential temperature. So we do this occasionally, and we have an approximate idea where the front is. That works out pretty well. Very little temperature gradient over Missouri, but when we go north, pretty strong gradient up there in Iowa. And also the front works out pretty well in Ohio. There it is right there, front from eastern Kentucky up to about the Cincinnati area. So this is our Alberta Clipper there moving through the Midwest area and probably heading for Pennsylvania and Maryland. It's hard to tell what's going on in the western U.S. We've got a lot of noise in the potential temperature field. But looking at the large-scale picture, maybe a kind of a weak front through there. The presence of that high is going to break that front up, though. So I'm probably not going to actually draw that on the map, but I don't know, maybe I would put kind of like a dashed line as a reminder to kind of watch that there. And then let's see if we find anything for that front in North Texas. Well, there's our downslope flow there in the DFW area, Mineral Wells to Abilene, where it's about 73. I don't know, we could probably maybe go with something like that there. It is kind of a weak front, so we would probably use a little bit more analysis to find that there. Now, one product, the upper air. Let's go to the upper air because we do have that jet in the area. And there's our weather picture tonight. The stronger jet stream winds have pushed off into the Atlantic, and we're left with about probably 80 to 100 knot winds. And that's focused from Alberta all the way down to the Great Lakes. And then down to the south, there's that subtropical high, or subtropical jet stream. With a ridge right there over the Rio Grande area. And that gives us kind of an alignment like that. Okay. Now, we are starting to tap some of the moisture from the Eastern Pacific, and this is one way we can look at it. This is one of the analysis websites. This is University of Wisconsin there at Madison, and they've got this product here that goes back. Let's see, this is a 24-hour loop, I believe. 24 hours, and we're looking at precipitable water. So the intertropical convergence zone really shows up well. We talked about that yesterday, and that extends from Western Africa to about Colombia there. And we saw that the conditions were kind of clear in this area. We couldn't pick out where the ITCZ was, but using precipitable water, very easy to find that. So we can trace that around the entire globe. So that's where the air is coming together. kind of like that right there. And you can see a lot of convergence there in Indonesia. And they do definitely get quite a bit of rain there. Some of the stormiest areas are in Indonesia, where they get about 300, not the entire country, but there's some places there that get about 300 to 320 thunderstorm days every year. So here we can see a little bit of that moisture starting to move northward. And this is kind of the source region for a lot of the moisture that we see moving northeast into the U.S. right there. So that's very rich moisture with about 2 to 2.5 inches of precipitable water there. And there's another source right there around Costa Rica. All right, let's see. Do we want to do the mesoscale charts? These do tend to be time-consuming, so I prefer to focus on the areas where there's weather. And of course, that's going to be the Midwest. Okay, so earlier this morning, the picture looked like this. This was about 6 or 7. We had the storm system there in the Minneapolis area. So this is a surface cyclone right there, and this moved southeastward during the day. So you can see it moving through the Chicago area about 4 p.m. And the current picture about right there. So the surface low is in the Findlay area of Ohio. And yeah, you can see the temperature plots there, actually in Fahrenheit right there. So temperatures have cooled down in Kentucky, and I think looking at this, we've got 39 in northern Kentucky compared to 59, so maybe we're going to place that front a little further to the west. So we would kind of cross-check that there with surface data. So that would make this area right here a triple point. And then we'll take a look down in Texas. Yep, got some sort of frontal boundary moving through the Red River region. Gusty winds there around Amarillo and Childress. And then we bring this up to the current time. And there's our front parking itself, just north of DFW and along Interstate 20 around Abilene. Okay, so we have a pretty good idea where that good moisture is. There's the surface source right there in the tropics. Lots of evaporation there, and that's feeding northward, or I'm sorry, northeastward into Mexico right there. And the subtropical jet, kind of like that right there. Okay, let me take a look at the chat there. I've got Burl H here. And Mr. Manlet, David Moore, warm day in the Metroplex. Yeah, DFW has had that downslope flow ahead of that front. Mr. Manlet talking about that storm system there in northern Illinois. High made it to 33. Ryan reporting cooler weather in South Florida. Low 60s. Another cold blast coming. Mr. Manlet wanted to show his hand analysis, but the chat will not show links. Yeah, I don't know a good way to activate that. I clicked on your name and I don't have any options here for enabling links. So what you can do is you can space out the link, like when you put a dot there for www.com or something.com. You can put spaces around there and people can reconstruct that. Jason Boggs and we got Noah Coate here, had some snow in St. Cloud. Slight dusting where Mr. Manlet was. Kathy Campbell Wallace, snowing and cloudy in the Bighorn Basin, Wyoming. High and dry in Northern California where Mike R. is. Clipper brought high winds in Iowa where Burl H. is. David Moore looking forward to spring. Here, let's animate this. There we go. And Ryan Toomey's reporting California showing the fires growing again the next 24 to 48 hours. Santa Barbara area there. Electric Dog is here. Ryan saying Thomasville area under the gun again. Mike R. setting up for another offshore wind event. And meteor shower tonight, reported by Dave Donat. Okay. So now we'll head a little bit into the forecast. What I'll do here is I'll give you the infrared imagery. So, yeah, our cold front coming into the Midwest really shows up there. There's the colder air coming through Iowa and Minnesota, and warmer air out ahead of it. Let me make sure that we don't have any low cloud moving through that area. I want to kind of confirm what we're looking at, make sure that that cold up in the Minneapolis area is not low cloud. And yeah, it looks like it is. Okay, so we're getting returns from the tops of these clouds, probably about 3,000 to 4,000 feet deep, so very cold on top and radiating very little heat back to the sensor. However, this is associated with a cold air advection there into the Midwest, and we know for sure that out ahead of it, that region right there is warm, and that's going to be ahead of that cold front there. So we can see that wave there coming through Pennsylvania. It looks like another wave going through Wyoming and Colorado. Okay, so that's how things look. Let's head into the forecast. Okay, so starting out tonight, there goes our system there, heading on its way east. That'll move quickly into Pennsylvania and Maryland tonight. Some strong cold air advection going through the Pittsburgh area. Snow showers there in Pittsburgh when you wake up. And that front will be heading for the D.C. area. Norfolk and Roanoke and Philadelphia. We'll be getting some of that, and looks like a little bit of a high-pressure area moves into Texas, too. So I think tonight, yeah, that front continues moving into Texas, so that should cool us down a little bit. Okay, pretty quiet for tomorrow. This is about midday. Looks like a kind of a weak wave moving through. There it is right there, late tomorrow night in Iowa. Pretty much high pressure covering this entire western U.S. area, keeping things kind of cool. So we're just going to be kind of under a northerly flow in Texas. Looks like a little bit of upslope starting to develop around the Big Bend area of Texas right there. The system off the East Coast looks like that moves offshore by evening. So pretty quiet tomorrow night. There's that high building into Texas right there. Looks like quite a system coming together there in Mexico. Looks like a wave kind of picked up in that area. So yeah, we can see right there in Mexico, very strong upslope affecting this area right here. And that's probably coupled with an upper level wave, so some very inclement weather there for Mexico early Friday morning. Okay, systems coming together again up there in northern Alberta. Let's see what happens over the weekend. Looks like things are going downhill in the western U.S. on Saturday. Looks like a system right there in Oregon. Yeah, there it goes, coming into Nevada. So pretty stormy there for Nevada and California on Saturday. Looks like another wave coming through Iowa and Minnesota. And then elsewhere in the country, looks pretty warm. That right there, that's a downslope pattern. So kind of a warm-up this weekend for Texas and Oklahoma, and even Kansas. Okay, things get very active out west, and looks like we got a surface low. Kind of an unusual pattern for Sunday. See that low right there? And then we have a pretty strong lee side low right there over southeast Colorado. And let's see what happens for Sunday. Looks like the GFS picking up a few storms there with that return flow. And looks like our system is tracking through the mountains right there through Nevada, through Arizona and New Mexico. And then that emerges into Texas. Kind of a weak system on Tuesday. And there it tracks into the southeast U.S. And back behind it, some cold air advection coming southward through the Central Plains. So there's that high right there. Lots of cold air advection spreading into the eastern U.S. and quite a storm system up in Montana. This is on the 20th on Wednesday. And this will spread pretty quickly to the east. Snow showers there in Chicago on Thursday, the 21st. And looks like this is going to barrel southward. Yep, there it goes, pushing southward. So now we're up to the 22nd and 23rd. Pretty good cold blast and some snow being forecast in Tennessee and Arkansas for the 22nd. And I think the model is back down a little bit on this Christmas snow situation. And we did know that was going to happen. It's pushed pretty far southward, but it does look cold in Texas. And we've got an Atlantic system also. So that's going to be around the 23rd. And a big 1050 high. This is a big Arctic high moving into the central U.S., spreading cold air pretty much everywhere right there. So, yeah, it does look like we do catch a little bit of a wave there around Christmas. See right there, looks like pretty good upslope. I thought the model was backing down on that a little bit, but I guess not. However, it does look like there's enough ridging into Texas to kind of keep precip shut down. So you see right here, this is kind of a dry area around DFW down to Austin. The wave kind of moves across that and redevelops on the other side there, picking up moisture there from the Gulf of Mexico and spreading that up into Georgia, Alabama for Christmas Day. And there it goes pretty quickly to the East Coast, and more cold air advection coming back in behind. So it does look pretty cold there for Christmas. Most areas east of the Rockies. Looks kind of mild there for the West Coast, though. And then we get to the end of the frame right there. December 29th, high pressure, cold pattern. And we can tell it's cold because of the strong pressure gradient along the front range there. So that's the edge of the Arctic air there, kind of backed up to the mountains with mild air around Grand Junction and the Four Corners area. Okay, let's see. That's the weather picture for tonight. I appreciate you all watching. 21 people on, and let me take a look at Mr. Manlet's analysis there. I'm going to kind of bring this up off screen and get it composed. You don't have to put in so many spaces on the link, just like after the dots should be enough. But I think I might be able to get this working here. Okay. I couldn't get it working there. I'm sorry, there was too many spaces in there. Just after the dots should be enough. But let me give this one more go. I might be able to get it working here. And you all can look at that cumulonimbus picture. Okay, let's see here. Okay, yeah, I think I got it working here. Okay, this is courtesy of Mr. Manlet right there, and this looks like a plot here for 01Z. That's going to be current data. Okay, yeah, that. So, yeah, let's check that out real quick. Hang on a second, let me drag out the image. There we go. Okay, so we've got that low analyzed right there around Finley. That's kind of what we talked about right there. So, yeah, that looks pretty good. Warm front might be a little bit too far north, but, you know, I do think there probably is some sort of boundary there, maybe a little bit of an inverted trough. Leading edge of the cold front, yeah, kind of right there. That looks good. Some good gusts coming in there in the Indianapolis area. Gust up to 30. And let's see here. I would probably bring this further west, though. So we're looking around the St. Louis area right there. Because we have to go by the temperature. So there's 48 right there. You can see as we go north, 48 to 49. We're still kind of in the warm air, 51, 50. And we don't really catch the colder air until we get north of St. Louis, and then we go down to 49 and then 36 up here. So it would be pretty important to kind of bring this a little bit further west like that. And very likely a lot of this is the warm air right here. But overall, yeah, pretty close there. And probably, yeah, pretty good on looking up north to kind of catch boundaries. So let's see, I probably wouldn't put anything there, maybe kind of a trough like that, but yeah, that might be, you know, kind of a feature worth tracking there. So anyway, yeah, thanks very much, and if we get any other people doing analyses over the next week, we'll try to put them up also. Okay, let's see here, one last look at chat. Colored pencils, good idea. I might have to show you my analysis box. I've got a pencil. I mean, I've got a box with about 5 pounds of pencils, colored crayons and stuff like that. I'll let you take a look at that sometime soon. Ryan Toomey's looking for severe season around December 20th, 29th. Do I have network update news? I don't know. I'm not too sure who. Are you asking me or somebody else? Mr. Manlet says, I realized I screwed up the fronts. It's no problem. That looked pretty close. And I think that's probably about all I got for tonight. So hope you all have a good evening and take care there. Let me get our music going and we will see y'all tomorrow night. Thanks.